Are you ready for the season of the witch? The correct answer is always ready. Moin, dear people. This is Anna of Northern Germany, a survivor, a fighter, a writer, and welcome to this channel. Old people, my friends, the friends of my friends, my relatives. It's very nice to see you. Here I am trying to talk about mental health awareness and also about literature because I'm passionate about literature and I'm also an aspiring author and I'm writing a book currently. I don't have that much time, unfortunately, to write this book right now, but I'm trying. I'm trying. One day it will be finished. I'm on the second draft right now, but today I came to you with a book recommendation, and my voice is still a bit unhealthy, probably because I was sick for a bit more than 2 weeks. And now I'm almost recovered, but sometimes my voice can sound a bit funny. So, yeah, today, as you can see from the name of the video, from the thumbnail, whatever, today I'm telling you the story how I read the book by Terry Pratchett for the first time in my life. I am going to talk about this book. This is a witchy book, and I will also include some videos from, like, I will include some vlogging parts when I was actually reading this book. Unfortunately, not many of them, not much was going on in my life. I was still acquiring for a flat, and I'm still a bit in this weird position. I don't know yet if I have a home already, if I don't have a home, so it's a bit weird. And I was ill, so I was sleeping a lot for the past few weeks. And yeah, let's talk about Terry Pratchett. And I think it's a good recommendation for the beginning of the witches season, and I will start the witches season on the next week. But I think it's like, a bit of, I think it's a bit of a transition, from this September Gilmore Girls style to the witches season. And yeah, so Terry Pratchett. How it happened that I've never read Terry Pratchett, because he's actually a very famous author. You can Google him. He looks like a magician. And the magician he is, kind of. He was. Unfortunately, he already died. But I am actually not a big fan of fantasy. And I think the genre in which Terry Pratchett is writing is fantasy, or otherwise, how my friend puts it, yeah, Terry Pratchett is a genre in himself. And yeah, I don't like fantasy, but I have friends who are very, very big fans of Terry Pratchett, and they read every book of his, and they were very persistent. Recently, they purchased some new books by Terry Pratchett. It was something like The Night Watch, about some guards. I'm not really in this world yet. And yeah, if you watched my previous story, if you want to watch my previous story about me falling from the bicycle, when I was sitting at the lake in Krakow am See, my friend left this book for me, Guards, and she said that in my vast knowledge of literature there is a gap that I should fill. Yeah, it's a bit pushy. But my friends really love Terry Pratchett, and I decided to give it a go because I'm open to recommendations, and especially to the recommendations of people who I really love. So I decided to check it out, like, what is it all about? What is this all fuss about, because I read some comments and they were a bit quite contradictory, because yeah, I guess Terry Pratchett is someone who you either love or don't. It's obvious, right? Yeah. So I picked up this book. This book is about witches. It's called I Shall Wear Midnight. It's called as young adult fantasy, I think, if you search for it. And it's the 4th book out of 5 books. So my friends, they on their bookshelf, they had only this one, the 4th book. And yeah, I read it because, well, my other friend had read it before and she wasn't a Terry Pratchett fan and she liked it. And she said that she felt like in the childhood. And yeah, kind of, I felt like in childhood when I was reading this book, because it was just like in the childhood when my parents presented me some books for birthday or for the New Year's celebration, and they usually didn't care for like the order in the series, and it was like in the random order all the time. So it felt a bit nostalgic because of that. Yeah, so the main character is Tiffany Aching. She is a 16 years old witch, and I decided that I really love witches. I enjoy books about witches and I like the witch aesthetic, because yeah, it has become very popular recently. That's also why it's a bit complicated. It's a bit difficult to find a well-written witchy book, if you know what I mean, because you know, the bookstores are loaded with these witchy books, but when you start reading them, sometimes you just feel like, what, what, what? I think I'm turning into a frog. The first witchery of the witches season. By the end of the video, I will turn into the frog. This book, I think it's one of the recent books written by Terry Pratchett, but it is a Discworld novel. What it means, I will put it somewhere here. What it means, Discworld novel. Basically, it's the world that Terry Pratchett built, and it's like on some disc that it goes around. I'm not sure. I will put like the description, the explanation. And for me, Terry Pratchett, I had this picture in my head. He's somehow like Tolkien, and I've never read Tolkien, and I don't think I ever will, because it's just too much for me, like too heavy, too much of a fantasy. Fantasy that has too much of a fantasy. Genius. And also I thought that it's kind of a fairy tale that he writes, like fairy tales with some positive topics, something light. And yeah, apparently that was not what it was. So, the weekend is about to finish, and I hate it for that. But okay, I am in process. I read 90 pages of this book, and 90 pages from how many? I think it's more than 400. Yeah, let's say like 415. You can judge if it is a lot or not a lot. I guess it's not a lot, but yeah, unfortunately I don't have that much headspace right now, because I'm learning German actively right now, and it takes a lot of energy and a lot of mental space, and I know that because yeah, I studied at the foreign languages department. I was studying English and French. I almost said Französisch. Horrible. Yeah, and it needed a lot of mental capacities, and I couldn't read at all. And it's of course sad because I'm a bit used to my reading routine, and I always loved reading. And the book is interesting. The book is a bit not what I had expected it to be because, well, I don't know, for some reason I imagined that Terry Pratchett is something fairy tale-y, and it is fairy tale-y, but the things that are described here, like witch hunt, and not only witch hunt, basically the character is not even 16, this girl. I have the problem. I don't like these covers of Terry Pratchett books. It's like the biggest problem of mine. And yeah, basically, she is handling things that my friends handle who are doctors, such as, well, they write death certificates because they're doctors. And she describes things from her practice. How, for example, she had to go to a place where a lady died and 2 months passed and cats started to reproduce on the same bed where she died. And other horrible things are going on in this book, so yeah, it doesn't look too kids friendly for me for now, but I guess, yeah, those are not kiddie novels. Another problem, what I'm noticing, that there are these Discworld novels, and it's said that you can read them in any order, but so far I guess it's maybe the 4th book. Yeah, I think it's like the 4th book from these 4 books, and I just picked it up because it was at home, my friend's home. And yeah, it's not like I don't understand at all what is going on, but yeah, there were times when this girl wasn't a witch, and a lot of stuff was going on that I'm not aware of. So I don't know. I think it's a bit an exaggeration that you can read them in any order. Oh, I started to read this book like 3 weeks ago, and it took me quite a lot of time to read this book because I was ill and I'm also learning German these days. Actually, my course is already over, and now we have a course dedicated to Germany, orientierungscourse. Course. So we study like the basics of human rights in Germany and all this stuff. And I expect that now it's going to be a bit easier, but I'm not sure. So yeah, my head used to be stuffed and I was ill. So I was reading it pretty slowly, although if you decide to read it, I think it's quite a quick read. The pages are not like, filled with words that you have like no space to write something down, if you know what I mean. And still, what I believe, at the beginning, it was very hard for me to read Terry Pratchett because I still believe I would, you will see it like from my vlogging parts, I feel like it's still quite an exaggeration that you can read these books at a random order, because at some points I was really confused. I was really confused who these people are, what was going on, and it's not that it interfered with my general understanding of this book, but I think if I read at least these books one by one, it would be better. So if you want to read this book, I recommend you to start with the first book, which is called what? The We Three Men. I don't like these characters. Like, the first book is about the characters that I don't particularly like. It's already Monday evening. I already did my homework. I finished the article for Tuesday. I'm a bit behind in my book writing, finishing the second draft of my book. And it doesn't make me super happy, but I think it's important to preserve my mental health. And also, if I don't really have energy to write or mental capacities to write, I think it's also my responsibility to write something of higher quality rather than lower quality. And also I'm learning again to write for the process but not for the result, because yeah, I have problems. I'm an overworker, overachiever, and I always tend to overdo. And actually, what helps me? My journal. My journal does help me a lot, because yeah, you can return back into the pages and you can see that you struggled with the same problems and that it led to certain consequences, such as like when I was tired and I did let myself rest and I accidentally deleted the videos of 1 week work, and other stuff like with the similar with the similar result. Yeah, I think I will try to read, but not a lot, maybe 1 chapter, because it's just such perfect weather finally for reading. I have my blanket, I'm cozy. Yeah, it's a bit raining outside. Hope it will stay. Yeah, I am not looking very positive. Maybe I'm sorry, because yeah, my flat choir is not doing great these days. But yeah, I'm not giving up. Alexei Navalny didn't give up. I'm not giving up, and you don't give up. Moin. Saturday, it's already 2, and I got a cold. Reading is moving very slowly, like very slowly, as slow as you can imagine that. I actually had plans for today. I thought that I would go to a shop and I would buy sushi for myself and I would read outside. And I don't know, I'm still planning to do that. I still need to take a photo for a thumbnail for the video that I'm publishing tomorrow. And I still want to move forward a bit with my reading. And I also planned walking around the town and maybe talking to people about like flats. Maybe someone knows if like the flat is empty and is going to be rented or something. I don't know how useful it is, but I feel proactive. Felt. Because my throat is dying. You can hear. And yeah, I don't know what I should do. I never know, like when I'm ill, if I should just lie or if I should try to go for a walk. I still want to go, at least to buy sushi, and if it is warm, try to read outside, but I don't know. I was lying all the day. I read a bit in the morning with my morning tea. And what I can say so far, Terry Pratchett is for sure very, very talented. But so far, I don't know. It's really hard to, like, enter this world, because so far I feel like an intruder who doesn't really understand what is going on there. And it's definitely like, the book is interesting. I cannot really say that I like the main character, Tiffany Aking, because for me she's too bossy. And I think, I don't know, she's either, she has a mess in her head, or she has ADHD, because basically 100 pages, and she took 100 pages to reach her friend to tell him that his father died, and she is always repeating that it's a priority and she needs to do that, but she doesn't do that. She does 1,000 things before that. I don't know. And yeah, it's hard for me to comprehend the world, but it's not that I don't enjoy the book. But I enjoy the book, but enjoy it differently as I usually enjoy books. And I don't know if in the end I would want to read another book of Terry Pratchett or not. I think I'm still like a bit in between. It was quite a challenge to find a place for myself to sit. You can't imagine. All the benches were occupied, but yeah, finally I found a place. I was in Lidl, I bought sushi, and I bought this, and there were only 2 bottles left. Normally I buy the one with that is mixed with the orange. This one is pure, and I'm just hoping that it will help my sore throat. The problem is that I'm not really hungry. This is very sad, because I was looking forward to having sushi, but because I'm ill, I just want to lie and die. But maybe I will gain some appetite, and then if I still have energy, I will read, because it's pretty here. I'm aiming this time maybe to structure this video. One big lol. I'm not super good at structuring. But this time I decided to divide what I experienced from reading this book into advantages and disadvantages. And let me start with the advantages. The book is very enjoyable. The book is recommended for reading. It's a very well written book. A very well written book about witches. I have to highlight that. I have to point it out. It's a very well written book about witches. What else do we need? The advantage, like the proper advantage number 1, the world is rich. The world is very well described in such a detail. And what I also like particularly, there is a link in this book to one of the books that Terry Pratchett wrote, like one of the first books about witches. It's called Equal Rights, and it's not a spoiler. I think it's written in the book, like in the book description. Equal Rights. It's about the first woman who dared to be a wizard because she was gifted, and she became a wizard despite the misogyny and despite disrespect towards women. She became the first wizard. And as far as I found out, I did a bit of a research. This character, she appears in this first book once, and then she doesn't appear anymore. But in this book, she plays a role. I cannot say how significant this role is, but well, I think it's quite thoughtful that he included the character from one of his first books. And I find it fascinating because I don't know, how didn't Terry Pratchett get lost in all his characters and all this world? Because it's such a work, it's such work to create the world and not to contradict yourself. I don't know if there are any Terry Pratchett fans that might find this video. Tell me, like, you definitely read more books than me. Did he ever contradict himself, like, in this world, in his world? Because it's not something bad, but I really think that it's really difficult to write a book series, even like 10 books, and not to contradict yourself. I'm curious. Another advantage, the thing that he does with the words is real magic. It's real craft. He was a magician. That's very sad that he died early. Well, it's always sad when someone dies early. He was a very talented person. He was such a talented author, and lots of comparison, like really well thought, like thoroughly thought metaphors. I always love thoroughly thought metaphors, and I think if you like quotes, writing down quotes or like highlighting them in the book, you will find quite some of them. There are things that I particularly liked. For example, there was one quote that still provokes such warm feelings in me, and this quote is about love. Tell me, what is the sound of love? Listen. It's so simple and so sophisticated at the same time. Especially, I just highlighted two things. Maybe close your ears if you feel like spoilers. Those are not exactly spoilers. I don't think that they would spoil the impression from the book. I really liked the concept of spill words. Those are the words that you are about to pronounce, but you don't. And those are some swear words sometimes, or something that is like asking to be said, but maybe it's a bit rude, but it's so obvious. And yeah, I really enjoyed the concept of spill words, because I think it does exist in the real life out of the book. And also I liked one character, a toad, a frog, who used to be an attorney, a lawyer, and he was jinxed, he was cursed, and he was turned into a toad, and he decided to stay a toad. Would you stay a toad? Answer the question in the comments if you want to. Two other things that I really appreciated in the book is that Terry Pratchett, he was very progressive for those times, and I think he's writing since the 70s, the 80s, probably. I will check it out. And he wrote books such as Equal Rights, and with some feminist message, and he called himself a humanist, and you can notice that. And also, what I really appreciated, that it's not too fairy tale-y, and the imaginary world, this Discworld, people there have real problems, like real problems, violence, or I don't know, power, usurping of the power. Also, like historical problems such as witch hunt. Yeah, if you were afraid that you would read Terry Pratchett and it would be too childish for you, I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. This one is young adult. It positions itself as young adult, but I would mention it later about the young adult and stuff. Yeah, and also I think the characters, they are complete, and of course, yeah, I had already mentioned that maybe it's better to read the books according to their order, but still I managed to make up my mind about the characters. I had my favorite ones, maybe not favorite ones. Character Tiffany Aching, I cannot say she's my favorite, but I could still sympathize with her. I think for me it's a well-written book. So the verdict, it's a very, very good book in which you can feel the dedication of the author. You can really feel it. And I think it's not like, it's one of the best things when you can see the author of the book in every letter. You can imagine how this person was writing this book, how engaged he was. It's such a pleasure to read such a book. As we say in Russia, in every bucket of honey, there is a drop of gasoline. It's not exactly like this, but yeah, some disadvantages. In the disadvantages, occasional spoilers are possible. And the greatest disadvantage, that for you to enjoy this book, you need to get through this forest of some local jokes or some messages or some links or whatever that people who are into Terry Pratchett already know, and you really feel like an intruder. And for you to finish the book, you really, really need to be motivated to continue reading, to get through this period, because at some point you'll get absorbed and you'll probably want to read another book. But there is this border that you either want to cross or you don't want to cross, and it's also normal. It's normal if you read it and if you feel like an intruder in this magical world and you don't really feel like continuing because you feel like you're excluded because you do what you were told to do. Just chill out and read books in any order. And then you read it and then you're like, okay, well, it's actually not exactly like that. Well, that's my opinion. And for me, like, up until the half of the book, I felt very wrong reading it. Sometimes, like at the very beginning, Terry Pratchett reminded me of the situation when there is a group that has been formed already, and you try to join this group, and you are really putting a lot of effort into fitting in, and it's like a lot of struggle, and it will either work out or it won't. So, yeah. Another disadvantage, the main character. I really didn't like her. It's like, you know, she's a typical teenage character who is special, who is not as other characters, and it's normal because, yeah, we don't want to read about some ordinary characters. Usually we read someone who is special, or the character against the world or something. But with her it was too much. It was too much. I am special, and it was a bit too much. I am taking everything on myself. I am doing everything by myself. I am doing it. I have to do that. And at the same time, a lot of people are helping her, but she is kind of ignored. It's not, it's out of her view. She's looking like tunnel sight. She doesn't notice that, although even the final battle, yeah, she kind of won it alone, but at the same time, lots of people helped her, and they think they should be more appreciated. They think they are, because, yeah, there are only 5 books about this character, but the other characters, they also have their own books. I suppose, I guess. The last disadvantage, the ending. The ending is too sweet sugary. As I had already mentioned it before, when I was filming a video, Mental Awareness Through Literature, Holyborn, Am I Normal Yet? Every teenage book ends very sugarly, very sweetly, and if you have seen something in this world, and if you're an adult, you look at it and you think, yes, very nice, thank you very much. This is usually how it happens. Everyone is friends with everyone, everyone is dancing, and they live happy ever after, and they die on the same day. We all know that it doesn't happen like this. It's not a huge disadvantage because, yeah, sometimes life is too life. Life has too much life in it. And sometimes it's also nice to stay away from the real life and to read a perfect happy ending, and don't be too grumpy about it, and don't grumble like an old granny like I'm doing it. The ending is too positive of the ending. Yeah, so those were disadvantages. So the major conclusion, I think I am very motivated to continue reading Terry Pratchett, and especially his witchy novels. I think I'm quite into this one. Look at this. Look at this. To this one, I think I will try to read it in the order. And other witchy books about other witchy characters, I am really curious about them. Also older books, and also as Karina Smith, the character of the Equal Rights. I'm super curious. I'm not sure that I'm convinced to read other novels such as Guards, and the Night Watch series, and the Wizards series, and other stuff. It would be good for understanding the world, but I'm not sure that there is some sense of curiosity was born towards these characters, because I already imagined them a bit sexist, or for example like Guards, they're just, I don't know, out of my interest zone, I guess. So I'm not sure. Maybe if I will get very into Terry Pratchett and I will want to repeat this experience, maybe once I'm finished with all witch novels in 1000 years, I want to read something else. But I'm not sure. We'll see. And what is your opinion? Have you ever read anything by Terry Pratchett? What do you think about fantasy? And what do you think about witches and witchy novels? How commercialized they are these days? Because I think really it's a sack with money for many people, unfortunately, although the topic is fascinating. The topic is amazing. The witches. And I am finishing this video. Thank you for watching. Sorry for this sound if it disturbs you. One day I will. I'm promising you, one day I will buy a proper microphone when I have a bit of spare money, and yeah, we'll see. We'll see how things will unravel. And as always, I wish you love, love, and peace, peace from unknown northern Germany. And welcome to the witches season. Tschüss.